Last week we did sacrifices in the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And we discussed a bit about Eklavya and what is his mode. At least that's what I thought. What was his mode? Anybody gave it any thought further on to have any more thoughts or comments on Eklavya and his mode of sacrifice?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Danak Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
So yeah, after last week's discussion, I thought it was more of a passion, but it's evidence that it was more of ignorance. He had desire to get siksha from his guru, but his guru said he wasn't going to give any diksha to him, and he still went against his guru, and by creating his guru's deity and getting diksha that way, so he basically went against his guru.
Yeah, that's a good point.
To get the diksha, to get the siksha, and and therefore, he basically was ignorant and not listening to his guru.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes. So it was actually, yes, you're right. It was also in ignorance, because in ignorance part, we read that without regard for the direction of the scriptures. And so he was very openly refusing to accept his guru's order. So that was in ignorance, yes. And there was some sense of pride that I will show, whether it was his guru or whoever, but he said, oh, I'll show them that I can learn. I can be a better archer than Arjun. Okay. Okay, so we'll move on. We'll get to austerities today. So the way Krishna has arranged it, that he will talk about austerity of body, mind, and speech. We'll talk about that, and then he will explain the austerity in those three modes. So that's the next 6 verses. So we were discussing this, so I'll just repeat what I was talking about austerity, that austerity can have multiple purposes. Why are we austere? That's the question we can have. Why to do austerity? So I think I had a slide somewhere. Yeah, okay, this one. Yeah, so why to be austere? So austerity can sharpen our spiritual purposefulness. So what we mean is that if we are not austere, there is a good chance we might get relaxed, complacent. The example that I put here is of Pandavas. And I was giving this example last time. The Pandavas were exiled to the forest. They were living in a forest, like just regular forest, and they had to follow the austerities of that forest. However, at one point, they were able to go to the forest of Kubera. And that forest was not like a forest, it was a heavenly arena. They were very relaxed there, everything was very good, they're comfortable. But then Arjun and Bhim came to Yudhishthir and he asked him to leave that comfortable place. Because if they continue to live there, they'll forget what Duryodhana had done to them. So they needed to be prepared for war, both in spirit and also physically. Right? So Yudhishthir agreed with their reasoning, and he soon descended to the earthly forest. Indulgence in comforts can erode our sense of purposefulness. So that's what I'm saying. Another one is that it provides us an insurance against complacency. So something similar to purposefulness. It sharpens our purpose also, and it also prevents us from falling back in complacency. And the example is of Sugriv. So as you all know, Sugriv helped uh, Lord Ram to find Mother Sita. He divided his party of monkeys into four, and they all went in different directions, and he Lord Ram had helped him gain the kingdom, killing Bali. And Sugriv then was indebted, and he said, "I will help you." And he said, "I'll help you against the war we have to do against Ravan." But he said, "Oh, there's this rainy season, so can you please wait till the rainy season is over and then we will go." So Lord Ram said, "Okay." And Lord Ram waited, but he never came. Sugriv lost that sense of purposefulness because he was too immersed in comfort and pleasure. So that's the example of Sugriv. And it also helps us in cultivating discernment. It helps us fixing our mind on Krishna through direct devotional practices like meditation, scripture study. When we continuously, habitually, do these God conscious, Krishna conscious activities, we will be able to see spirituality underlying whatever we see around, whatever technologically we are seeing. For example, you're seeing that there is so much technological advancement, and that we can connect that to also Krishna. If we are constantly in the mode of Krishna consciousness, we've been reading the Shastras, right? So the part of Krishna has to be brought in, and how do we bring that? By cultivating austerities, and austerities in all our activities. So then Krishna consciousness becomes more evident to us. But without that part, without Krishna in it, the same, for example, the technological advancements we see around us can be a source of confusion for us, illusion for us. So ours is a preaching movement. So it has the word move in it. So pain, being austere, it might be pain of austerity might be uncomfortable, but then pain of regret is unbearable. I heard that recently in one lecture. If we're not austere now, later on in our lives, when we're leaving this body, the pain will be unbearable for us. So Krishna consciousness is simple, it's easy, but it's not cheap. Just like anything else in the world requires sacrifice, Krishna consciousness also requires that. Intensity, the sincerity, the focus, the austerity. It also needs that. So yes, so that's the reason we have to be austere. So now let's move on to the three different types of austerities that Krishna is going to talk about. The first one, Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I have a doubt on the point 2 that you mentioned, right? About that austerity is an insurance against complacency, right?
Mm-hmm.
The example of Sugriva you gave, right? He was complacent because he did not, it was a rainy season and he did not want to go, right?
Mm.
So how is austerity related to means? I'm not able to connect the dots, Prabhu. I understand the example about Sugriv, how he was complacent, but I did not understand how austerity played a role in making him not non-complacent. Means I'm not understanding, Prabhu.
Well, so for one, the first step itself was a sense of complacency, right? That, oh, let's wait for the rainy season to get over.
Mm-hmm.
That was also a relaxed attitude, just like we do, right? Let's sleep for another 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's sleep for another half an hour. And then when we realize it's already 7 in the morning and we're rushing. So similar to that, when he first step, then he said that, hey, let's go after the rainy season. What he had in his mind was an enjoying tendency.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of masked that enjoying tendency with this so-called weather challenge.
Mhm.
Otherwise, there was no weather challenge. So that was complacency itself, that he wanted to enjoy, he wanted to relax.
Mhm.
I just he killed his brother, he had a fight with him, and he said, oh, now let me enjoy the kingdom for some time. So that's how he became complacent.
Mhm.
And even after that rainy season was over, Lord Ram was waiting for him, but he didn't come. Why? Because that complacency had gone so deep, because he just thought that let me relax for some time. And we all have, I just gave the example of sleep, but in many other things also. Oh, I will chant later. I tell my son, chant. And he says, oh, I'll chant later, I'll chant later. And sometimes he doesn't chant. He'll go to. So this tendency to procrastinate our spiritual activities
Mhm.
makes us complacent. Whereas if you be austere and say, no, I'll get up right now, however tired or sleepy I may feel, just by doing that austerity, you have suddenly gained one more point in your spiritual bank account. You have more money now, because now you instead of falling prey to the complacent Maya, you now have taken, no, I will go serve Krishna. Did that make sense?
Yes,
Some connection.
no, definitely now. Yes, it makes
Yeah.
sense now, Prabhu. And
Yeah.
Prabhuji, please explain point number 3 also one more time. Austerity can help us develop discernment.
Discernment. So discernment means you're able to clearly see the purpose of anything that's out there, and you're able to connect it to Krishna consciousness. You'll see many of all our senior devotees, Maharaj, they're not like technologically challenged. It's not like, oh, I won't carry a phone. They all carry phones. But then the way they are using the phone is very different from the way I use it. I spend probably hours just scrolling nonsense, random reels and shorts and whatnot. But the senior devotees, all these Maharaj, they use it for Krishna conscious purposes. They will have the entire Veda base on it. They will immediately, whenever they have time, they'll pull up a verse to memorize a verse. So now they have been they have been actually able to discern the purpose of technological advancement. Whereas in some cases, we are not able to do that. So when we become spiritually advanced, everything around us, which might seem very negative, very uh, confusing, or very illusion filled, can actually become a source of use for Krishna consciousness. So it becomes sharp. Your mind becomes very sharp by austerities. That's what I meant by discernment.
Got it.
You're able to discern. And I was giving the example of technological advancement. So for a common man, the technological advancements, for me, they're binding. But for a senior, a self-realized soul, they could be liberating also, because now instead of carrying a big book, everything is on a phone, and they can open it wherever they want to. They can read verses, they can memorize verses, they can chant prayers, they can listen to prayers. They have now fully not they've utilized the technological advancement for the benefit of their Krishna consciousness. That's what discernment means.
Discernment.
Yeah.
Prabhu, thank you so much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Krishna.
And in the whole, whenever we do austerity, and you will notice, right? We'll read it also as we go forward. Austerity can also be in a mode of ignorance. Hiranyakashipu's austerity was passion and even ignorance to some extent. But his austerity was to an extent that there was heat generating from his body, and he could even still be alive despite ants had eaten up his skin and his muscles and everything. So imagine the extent of austerity, but that was in a mode of ignorance. So the broader concept of austerity is that Krishna should be in the picture. There's a verse in Narad Pancharatra. Prabhupada has translated some verses in that. Then I think some of his disciples. It says, "Arahadito yadi hari tapasa tatha kim. Na radito yadi hari tapasa tatha kim." Right. So that if you're worshipping Lord Krishna, then what is the use of severe penances? And if you're not worshipping Krishna, what is the use of severe penances? So what the author Narad Muni is saying, Krishna has to be in the center of everything. You cannot, without Krishna, everything becomes useless, whether they are severe penances or no severe penances. Yes, so that's a very beautiful word. Aradhito yadi hari tapasa vatathakim. Na aradhito yadi hari tapasa tathakim. So
Prabhuji,
that's the,
Sorry, I cut your thoughts.
No, please go ahead. Tell me.
Prabhuji, where is it, Prabhuji? Which scripture you mentioned?
It's a Narada Pancharatra. I think Prabhupada translated it, a part of it, and then his disciples did. I think that's not it. Narada Pancharatra. Let's see. I'm just trying to be sure that it's. Yeah, there is another Pancharatra. I think. Yeah. So. Yeah. So that I think there's just 18 or 19 verses. But then there is one of the verses in there that Prabhupada translated that book, a part of it, not the whole thing. Narada Pancharatra. So yes, okay. So that's the thought around austerity, why to do it, and how it benefits us. And we never do an austerity to gain an upper hand. Oh, I did austerity, so I'm entitled to this. That sense of entitlement should not come in us, because as these 3 points tell us, all this austerity is for our benefit, not for Krishna's benefit, not for anybody's benefit. The only reason we are doing austerity is to purify ourselves. Any austerity do, whether you're doing service in the temple, whether you're doing austerities at home, wherever it may be, it should never bring a sense of entitlement in us. Otherwise, it falls down to an austerity in the mode of fashion or even ignorance to some extent. So that sense of entitlement should never be there. So, okay, so let's see the first austerity of the body as Krishna is speaking. Austerity of body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. That's the first kind of austerity that Krishna is talking about. So the pujanam, worship. So pujanam is worship. So that's where Krishna is bringing. So pujanam, yes, it's worship, but you can also take it in a broader sense, respecting. Right? Obviously, we don't sit down and worship our parents every day, but we respect them. Similarly, our spiritual masters, we don't meet our spiritual masters regularly. So it's a sense of respect. And so doing puja is a way of respect. And then Krishna says, Deva. That's what Krishna is. Krishna is using the word Deva, and Prabhupada translating it as Supreme Lord. Right? And then Dvija are the Brahmanas. Right? So Deva, as you see in the Bhagavad Gita, Devas can be Supreme Lord or demigods. But here specifically the word Deva refers to the Supreme Lord. Right? All Brahmanas are spiritual teachers, but only one becomes a guru. So that's why Prabhupada is also using the word Brahmana, Krishna using it, right? Dvija, the Brahmanas. So so that's the difference between the word Brahmanas and Guru. So because only one Guru, but all Brahmanas are respectable, but there is only one Guru, so who's respectable. And then there is Arjavam, which is simplicity, and being simple. And simplicity doesn't necessarily, simplicity just means that we are not in a cheating mode. We are clean in inside and out. So that means Arjavam, simplicity. Right? And then there's Brahmacharya. There is Brahmacharya is coupled with Ahimsa. Right? So the reason Krishna is coupling them is Brahmacharyam Ahimsancha. So earlier in the past, Krishna is using Kama Krodha. He couples Kama and Krodha. Right? So ways to control Kama is Brahmacharya, and ways to control Krodha is Ahimsa. So that's it. So Krishna uses these dual words, Kama Krodha Bhuktanam. Then in the 4th chapter, there was this verse. So here he's using Brahmacharya Ahimsancha. So to control Kama Krodha, we all have to do Brahmacharya and Ahimsa. And Brahmacharya also has different meanings. Yes, there is a literal meaning. Brahmacharya is an ashram. But Prabhupada has explained that brahmacharya in grastashram means being not having illicit sex. That's brahmacharya in our, and having a sexual relation only for the purpose of bringing Krishna conscious children into this world. So that will be also considered as brahmacharya in grastashram. So Krishna is okay. This is the austerity of the body and non-violence. Right? So, interesting thing. My personal one best is simplicity. Right, that the simpler we will live, more time we will have to focus on higher thoughts. Right, and for devotees, simplicity can also be according to time, place, and circumstances. Right? Sometimes, we when Narada Muni had that, we had a disciple. There was a snake who would always, harass the villagers, and he would even sometimes bite some of them. Some would die, and so when Narada Muni saw that, he kind of imparted some knowledge to him, and the snake became his disciple. And but when after a few months Narada Muni came back, the snake was all battered up, he was all bruised and bleeding and so forth. And Narada Muni was saying, "What happened to you?" So he said, since I've become a devotee, I've become your follower, people now know that I don't bite anymore. So now they hurt me. They throw stones at me, and so that's what happened. So Narada Muni says, I told you not to bite anybody, but I didn't stop you from, scaring them with your hood. So that's what is an example of simplicity. You're according to time, place, and circumstance, simplicity can be different. But it's an important straightforwardness and simplicity is an important quality in devotees. Then austerity of speech. So earlier was body, now is speech. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. If we don't want to be agitated, we should not agitate others. Duryodhan was agitating in his speech when Krishna came as a messenger. And Srimad Bhagavatam in the 8th canto, there is a verse that says that there is nothing more sinful than untruthfulness. Right? Even Mother Earth would say that, I can bear heavy things, but I cannot bear a person who is a liar. But then again, austerity of speech, truthfulness can also be according to time, place, and circumstance. We have an episode of Sanatana Goswami who spoke a lie to get out of Nawab's service. He said, I'm not feeling well. But in actuality, he was sitting at home and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So if a lie is spoken, not as a habit, not all the time, for elevation of one's bhakti, it is beneficial. Right? So since when we commit some sins for my sake of my bhakti, right? But then, so that those are okay. So that's okay. Not as a habit once again. Now and then, here and there, if we need it, it's okay. But generally, the principle is that we should be truthful. And so truthful is the first thing that Krishna is saying. They have to be truthful. But now the second thing Krishna is saying is pleasing. Right? So yeah, we can speak sweetly, but if it is not to the ultimate benefit for the person, it may sound pleasing in that immediate time, but in the long run, it's going to be detrimental. Right? You can feed sweets to somebody once in a while, that's okay. But if you start feeding sweets to somebody every day, that person will get diabetes. So that's about pleasing. And then is beneficial. And if there is always a conflict between pleasing and beneficial, we should always favor beneficial. Sometimes something can be both pleasing and beneficial, but it's not always. So it's So then it's a choice. So the way to understand these four things, a common question comes when people read this verse is that, do we need to have all these four qualities in our speech? Truthful, pleasing, beneficial, not agitating to others, because it's very hard to achieve this. How can we be truthful and pleasing also and not agitating to others also? So it's a very lofty goal, right? So the way to understand this verse is, first of all, better not speak. That's one good thing. Maunam. Maunam was one of the qualities. You don't speak nonsense. Okay, so better not speak. Next is speaking truthfully, right? So after truthful, it becomes pleasing. Okay? So if you can speak truthfully and pleasingly, then we speak what is beneficial according to dharma. Right? So the first quality that should be given preference is truthful. Second quality that should be given is pleasing, and third is hitam, beneficial. So sometimes we may not be able to ensure all these qualities. We may lack these qualities. So vacho vegam was the first part. Right? Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam. The first verse in the Quran says vacho vegam. How do you, the controlling of your tongue means your speech is in these modes. And so this is the way to understand it. That your first goal should be that you should be truthful. If you can be truthful and pleasing, very good. If you can be truthful, pleasing, beneficial, even better. But if you have to choose, you always start choosing according to this grade: truthful, pleasing, and beneficial. That should be the grade. That, okay, I can't be pleasing and pleasing. Okay, but I'll be truthful then. Okay, I can't be, I can't control that agitation. It's going to agitate somebody. Fine, I'm at least speaking truthfully, and I'm in a very pleasing manner. I'm saying it to that other person. Right? So it's so this is a 101 lesson in management, how to manage people, be truthful. So yeah, sometimes what happens is that we have to speak lies also in jobs. So when that happens, we should always pray to Krishna to forgive these discrepancies. We should, in the 9th chapter, we read, right? It was at 27. Yad karoshi, yad ashnashi, yad juhoshi dadashi, yad tapasyasi konteya, kurushva madarpada. Whatever you do, to offer it to me. But we should not make this a habit. Prabhupada has warned us against that. It's not like I keep doing sins and offering it to Krishna. Habitual sinning cannot be offered to Krishna. Mistakes here and there made, fine, Krishna can forgive us. But if he sees that we become habitual and we are taking advantage of this principle, then he does not then he does not approve of this. Right? So, and even Sanatana Goswami, he in one of his books, he says that at the end of the day, we all, before going to bed, should offer all our day's activities to Krishna. But Krishna, I tried my best today. I did all my activities, family, work, personal. I tried my best to do it, to be in Krishna conscious, and now I'm offering all that to you. Right? So that's a good way of doing it. But if we use this as a license to do sins, speak hard words, that's not bhakti. It's cheating. It's cheating principle. Yeah. So there is a verse in Bhagavatam which says, I think if I can find it, let me see. It comes in the 7th canto. It's a very good way of how to deal with people who are always, giving you, they're just telling you, oh, do this, do that, and which is not conducive for your bhakti. So how do you approach that? Let's see if I can find it. This is the verse. This is it. So this is 7th canto, chapter 14, verse number 6. Gyataya pitra putra bhratra suhidro apare yad vadanti yad icchanti chanumodeta nirmam. An intelligent man in human society should make his own program of activities very simple. If there are suggestions from his friends, children, parents, brothers, or anyone else, he should externally agree, saying, yes, this is all right. But internally, he should be determined not to create a cumbersome life in which the purpose of life will not be fulfilled. So making everything conducive for bhakti. How does it fit properly into my bhakti? How will it help in growth of my bhakti? So that's a very, I like this verse very much. That, hey, yeah, there'll always be people to give you some suggestion or the other, or do this, or why are you chanting? You are young, go have fun. We don't have to agitate others. Yeah, fine. Okay, thank you very much for your suggestion. Let's just move forward. This is 7:14.6. So yes, so austerity of speech. This is the austerities of speech. There's an interesting thing Prabhupada says, that so I was saying that in this purport, Prabhupada brings out a very good point, that when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students. But such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. Yeah. Prabhupada, I was listening to Prabhupada this morning, and he was speaking to somebody, and his disciple was clicking pictures of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada got very angry with him. He said, why are you always clicking pictures of me? What will you get from clicking such a picture? No, don't click pictures of me when I'm talking, it distracts me. And Prabhupada was really angry. He got angry with his disciple. And so, because he's a disciple, Prabhupada can do that. So Prabhupada is highlighting that point here. So that also now is again going back to the principle of time, place, and circumstance, that a teacher can probably speak truthful and he would not worry about being pleasing. He can be sharp. And but if somebody is not your student, then that person cannot. Just like Vidur, you all know the story. Vidur was asked to leave by Duryodhan before the war. So Vidur left. He went to all places, went to pilgrimage, went to all these places. And then when the war was over, he came back and he saw that Dhritarashtra and Gandhari were living with the Pandavas. And he was really surprised. He said, what's going on here? But then he didn't mince words. He said to Dhritarashtra that you're living with the people whom you tried to kill. And you're living as a dog and eating the food that Yudhishthir throws on your plate. And so he called him a dog. You're living like a dog. So he was not mixing. He was not trying to be pleasing there, because now he was really worried about his brother, and he was seeing himself as he couldn't tolerate that the pitiable condition that Dhritarashtra was in. So he said, okay, now you're acting like a dog. So some positions, you could be that you just be truthful and cutting. You don't worry about being pleasing or not agitating to others. So that's Prabhupada is clarifying that a teacher can do that. Okay. Then the austerity of the mind. Satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purifications of one existence are the austerities of the mind. Right? So now we're in the austerities of the mind. Satisfaction. So the word is being brought about is satisfaction. And Krishna uses manha prasada, satisfaction of the mind. So the word prasada is being translated as satisfaction here. Right? So satisfaction is not just an emotion. It's also a decision, a choice. Okay? We can always choose to be satisfied in a situation. So, and actually, let me see. Prabhupada brings out some very good points in the purport. Let's see. I wanted to find there are 5 points Prabhupada brings out in the purport that are very valuable. So the best training for the mind is gravity in thought. That's the first point that Prabhupada is bringing out. So gravity doesn't means that don't be cozy, don't become relaxed. Gravity, as you know, gravity, what does gravity do? It pulls us down. So when somebody is asked to be grave, to have gravity in them, they're supposedly, in a way that pulling you down to your responsibility. Right? We are not free to cruise in this material world. It's not like, oh yeah, everything is fine. You don't do that. You try to overly interfere in this material world, and you'll always get your hand burnt. That's a common experience we all have. Right? So we don't overly become engaged, but then we don't become like depressed or chronically hyperactive or something. No. We just remember to be grave. So gravity in thought, in mind, means we understand how this world is working. We understand that everybody is in the same boat. Okay. And we can clearly see that, okay, yeah, fine, this person has more facility, but that doesn't mean that person is necessarily happy. Shackles are shackles, whether they're made of gold or iron. No one is enjoying in this world. So that brings a sense of gravity to our mind. So that's a very important point Prabhupada is bringing out in the purport. And then the second one, taking the mind away from thoughts of sense enjoyment. That's another one. Try to not do it artificially. We have to be vigilant throughout our lifetime. What was that? Who was this? Thomas Jefferson said, right? The price you pay for the peace and luxury you have comes from the constant vigilance of there are soldiers on the border who are constantly vigilant. That's why we are in this country, or any country, we are living happily because our borders are secure. So vigilance is always required in the lifetime. We have to be very vigilant. You might, just like Sugriv, we gave the example, right? You might think, oh, it's just a few minutes, but then you never know when you'll fall off the edge. Okay, oh yeah, today I'll relax. I chanted so much yesterday. I was so austere yesterday. No, that doesn't work that way. It's every day. Prabhupada, that's why I said, every day we do it. It's not like you do 32 rounds one day and then tomorrow we don't do anything. No. So taking the mind away from thoughts of sense enjoyment. Divert the mind to Vedic literature. And here Prabhupada is giving, these are all how to satisfy yourself. The satisfaction is the most important part of it in this verse. So Prabhupada is elaborating on how to be satisfied. And divert the mind to, what was it? Divert the mind to the Vedic literature. Our mind is always looking for spicy things, like politics. Sometimes politics becomes very interesting, news becomes very interesting. But if we pull ourselves away from that and bring it to Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam creates a satisfaction of thought. By using our intelligence, we can appreciate our service that we are doing, and whatever austerities we are doing, and be satisfied with it. And once we become satisfied, it opens up our heart to appreciate others. And it takes practice. It's not easy, but yes, satisfaction is something we can all practice. Devoid of duplicity. That's another Prabhupada is saying. Duplicity causes dissatisfaction. So we should always practice being truthful, straightforward. Right? It's easier to withhold information or embellish it. What I mean by embellish it, like sometimes what I do is, let's say, probably let's say I distributed 5 books, and I'll say, oh no, I distributed 10 today, just to add value to it. I try to prove myself to be better, even though I'm not that good. So that's something is duplicity, and we should avoid that. Right? So people always like simple and truthful devotees. And we have in our temple, you see, like Sundarana Prabhu is very simple and he's truthful. So everybody appreciates him. So we be truthful. And then last but not the least, thinking of welfare for others. The best way to control our mind is to think of welfare for others. Because when we are thinking about welfare for ourselves, it's unlimited. Oh, let's do this, let's enjoy that and this. So these 5 ways Prabhupada is giving for how to how to get satisfaction. And I think there was a list of verses I had in my slides on it. Just 1 minute. Okay. So I put these here. So I put the 5 points here, which we were just discussing. But I just put it for some references, some verses that Prabhupada quotes where he talks about satisfaction. There's some very good verses. For example, this first canto, 5th chapter, this verse comes from Narada Muni. And he says that if happiness and distress are coming to us by themselves. We're not asking for it. It's not like today morning I woke up and said, oh, I need some misery today. No, but still it comes. And same for happiness. So he says, don't spend your time trying to look for happiness or happiness. Don't try to run away from miseries, because they're going to come anyways. They're predestined. So if we could control our mind and come into that, okay, this is going to happen. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I'm not going to worry about it. So then we become satisfied. So then whatever energy is left, we can focus on our bhakti. So these some verses that they're coming from Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita also, that you can refer to. So yeah, so these are the austerities of body, speech, and mind. Yes. And you might have seen, right? We are called in Gaudiya Vaishnava, they are called Tridandi Sannyasi. You all must have heard of it, right? They are Tridandi Sannyasis. So what are those Tridandi Sannyasis? Those 3 dandas they have, they represent these 3 things: body, mind, and words. So when somebody is a Tridandi Sannyasi, he's controlled all these things. So he becomes a Tridandi Sannyasi. In our Gaudiya Vaishnava, we have 3 Tridandi Sannyasis. So it's body, mind, and word being controlled by that sannyasi. Okay, so these were the 3 austerities. Any thoughts or comments or anything on your mind?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Just a thought here, like, you mentioned, like, like reading other than the scriptures and all. It's sometimes it is not necessarily the sense enjoyment. It's like, just for when we live in this world, we cannot isolate ourselves, right? We can insulate, but we cannot isolate. So it's still like, this is a part of the life, day-to-day life. I think, do you think it's a bad thing to understand what is going around, or like, or reading something else other than the, like, scriptures?
It's not bad, but if it agitates you, it becomes harmful, right? It agitates me. For example, let's say you're watching a movie, and suddenly you see something comes up. It could be a boy and a girl coming together, and some sort of, and if it arouses something, it becomes harmful for us. Similarly, let's say you're watching the news, and suddenly you see that, okay, some politician is saying something about, let's say saying something about Hindus or something about, if that agitates you, then it becomes harmful for our bhakti. So we have to be, how it affects you will define whether it can be done or not. That's the way to look at it. If you think it's necessary for you and you are using it for your work, and then it's okay. There's no problem. Like, for example, I'm in research. I read every day. I'm reading something from literature. I'm reading what research other people are doing and publishing. I'm always doing that. But if it starts agitating me or taking me away from my bhakti, then it becomes harmful.
Right.
So it's about, sorry, go ahead, bro.
No, you are absolutely right. Like, just I was thinking, like, when we read anything, say, for example, just for the research perspective or anything, something new we are doing at the work, it's obviously, if we are doing just as a reading, then we cannot perform that, right? Like, it will be, that reading will be useless. So sometimes you need to get passionate what you are, like, what you are researching, what you are finding, right?
Yeah.
Do you think is that, like, taking away, or like, we are carried away with that? Or because sometimes it is very difficult, like, once you do that 8 hours work, You just go inside and whatever you are doing, explore, finding the solution,
Mhm.
and delivering that. So is this driving us towards the mode of passion, you will say? Or as long as we know, okay, 8 hours I'm working, then I'm done, then I'm back to my bhakti path. Is that okay?
So you're saying that if it agitates us, or if we
Not agitate, yeah, I will say if it is if it generates your interest, you are curious to know what next.
okay, but it's related to your work, right? It's not something that you are doing it for
Right.
enjoyment purposes.
Yeah, it's related to work. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
then it's okay, bro. Then it's not a problem. So as I said, see, it's not how to say it. So like I'll give you another example. Somebody can ask this question that, oh, speaking the truth is or not practical the whole time. So just answer your question. It has to be contextual and also about being purposeful. Okay. You cannot. So when I was referring to things like, randomly scrolling on the phone, these things can easily distract us. But if it is work related, we all have to do our work. We cannot give up our work. We have to do work. It's not like we'll just, oh yeah, I'll not do anything. I'll just do my 8 hours and then forget about everything. And yeah, no. You have to sometimes work. You have to sometimes put in more effort than what's because work demands it. So bhakti is not about being lethargic, okay, in our material life. Understand that. Bhakti is about making Krishna the center of our life and the purpose of our life. We all should have some quality time to connect with Krishna. So that's a given fact. It's not like, okay, you'll chant while working. That won't work. You will have some time, let's say 2 hours every day in the morning. Okay, I'll just try my best to give it to Krishna and only Krishna. But then we also want Krishna to permeate our entire life. And your job can also be your service. You can see as like for example, when you're going to work, you're earning money. You can see that I'm using this money for Krishna's service. You're taking care of your family. You're taking care of deities at home. You're contributing to some work at the temple. So it's not like your job becomes separate. It's completely, oh, that's demoniac. No, job can also be a service. Krishna says in the 18th chapter, he says that यथा प्रवृत्ति भूतानां येन सर्वमिदं ततं स्वकर्मणा tam abhyarcha. I forgot the last one. So, but what he's saying is, uh, man can attain perfection through his own work by worshipping the Lord. And that's, if you would have known in India, people make this, oh, work is vasi, kaam hi Bhagwan, something like that people say. But that's not what Krishna is saying. What he's saying, by our work we worship Krishna. But it's not that work is worship. No. Through work we worship Krishna. If work was worship, the donkey would have been the biggest worshipper because he works like an ass all the time. So work needs to be done in a mood of worship. Work should be done in a way that the talent that has been given to me, I can use that to make a contribution to Krishna, to the society in a broader perspective. And as I was saying, bringing Krishna in your life, for that also you need financial stability, you need a social standing, right? Those things also help you in practicing bhakti, right? Let's say if you are just hand to mouth and you're not sure whether tomorrow you have money for tomorrow's meal, your bhakti will not be strong. You have to be financially stable, right? So pursuing improvement and excellence in our material life as a service to Krishna is natural and it's good. And I'll stop there. Hope that was helpful, Prabhu.
No, yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Makes sense. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
And sometimes you have to choose your own battles also, Prabhu. That's something personal. It's not like, okay, my work is demanding me to focus on 10 different items. No, you have to choose. Okay, no, I can only focus on 4 because I have to give time to my bhakti. Or if I get too tired, if I focus on all 10, then I won't be physically alert enough to do my spiritual activity. So you have to learn to choose your battles also. So all those things, it's a balance. It's a very individual thing for all of us. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry.
Hare
What was
Krishna.
the question? What was the question, Prabhuji?
Prabhu was asking that sometimes he has to invest himself in work-related activities also, not as a mode of enjoyment, but some work might be more demanding. So he was asking, is that wrong? That's what he was asking.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. So I basically had the opposite question, which was, getting kind of like, I want to just put away everything and just go into bhakti. But what's hindering is our day-to-day life and trying to maintain, So how do we do that?
How do we do that? Means how do we give up everything? What's your question? Okay, I didn't get your
Yeah,
question.
how do we move away from, our basically day-to-day life and just get more and more into bhakti?
So that you're already doing, right? You're doing your chanting, you're doing your sadhana, and you're slowly bringing it. Happens slowly, Mata. You cannot do it overnight. It's not like tomorrow you'll give up everything. That's very unnatural. So you have to do it slowly and steadily. That's why we have the ashrama system in the Vedic culture. That you first learn how to do it, how to live in this world when you are a brahmachari. Then as a grasta, we enjoy, we do a lot of, we earn money and everything. So then slowly we start to minimize, we start to cut down things, declutter our life. That's one prastha. That, okay, now, okay, my life is okay. I've worked for 25, 30 years. My children are grown up, they are settled. So now I invest more time in bhakti. And then comes sannyas ashram. So it's a gradual process over a lifetime. And it's not like, as I was explaining, it's not that your work is going to be a hindrance. You can use your work also for Krishna's service. It's not like the work is always a hindrance to us, right? So, but it's a gradual process. That's what I'm saying. But as you were saying, the important thing is that we should not let our material pursuits take up so much of our time and thought that we have no time left for Krishna, right? So growth is not the problem. Disproportionate growth is the problem, like cancer. So material life is okay as long as you are continuously striving to bring Krishna into every aspect of your material life. And slowly Krishna will automatically start decluttering things for you as you grow.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Just, I guess you have that guilty conscience. So feeling guilty is one of the issues, like, that you're not doing enough. And that's basically where my question came from.
Yes, so Mataji, don't be guilty. Trying to do better is there's no harm. That's a very good thought. But guilt is your mind's trick to fool you and pull you away from bhakti. If Krishna is accepting you, he says in the 9th chapter, he says, right? What was it? Apiche suduracharo bhajante mam ananyabhag sadhu reva samantavya samyak vivasito visa. That people who are suduracharis, right, who are really bad, durachar, they're doing really bad, still consider them as good if they are trying to connect with me sincerely. And then there is a verse that I have often brought it up here. It's 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse number 27 and 28. So that's one of my, I always refer to that verse whenever things are going downhill. I'll just show that verse quickly. And it's something similar to what, so this is Lord Krishna speaking to Dava. So what Krishna is saying, having awakened faith in the narration of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sensory gratification leads to misery, but still unable to renounce the all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activity. So Krishna is also, he's calling us my devotee, just by trying our best. That itself is good enough for Krishna. So if it's okay with Krishna, who are you to be guilty about yourself or look down upon yourself. If Krishna is not doing it, please don't do it to yourself. Really be proud of yourself for what you are doing. How many people in this world are doing that? Barely a fraction, or even 0.000 some percent. So yeah, don't guilt is a personally I've experienced this. When you bring guilt into your life, it kills your bhakti actually. We all falter. Krishna is not worried about us failing. What Krishna is worried about us giving up the process. Just like when a child is in the house, the child does so many wrong things. Sometimes the kid might have paint in his or her hand, put it on the wall. Your wall gets dirty. Sometimes he'll drop a cup of juice, and then there all ants come. Yeah, no problem. Mistakes, no problem. Krishna is no problem with our mistakes, as long as we are sincere in our practice and desire to attain them. So no guilt. Guilt is a strict no. Little bit is okay, but not a bit more. Yes, Sankirtan Prabhu, you're saying something.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, a few things have been puzzling me here. Is that, okay, it's a matter of consciousness for what all activities that we do, even and consciousness that of the body as being used for Krishna's pleasure and service. And so if I've been awarded this body to do service for Krishna, and I am in a position with intelligence to do a job that requires my mental capacity and application to that situation, if I do that with all intensity because the fruits of my labor and my activities are for my position to serve the Lord, and it is a necessary position for me to survive, then I should just be thankful that he's given me something to maintain myself and not try to disrupt or be confused or even, feeling like I'm trying to enjoy. It's a wonderful thing that if Krishna gives us some type of position, and then we can realize that position as part of to be utilized as service. The position can be utilized as service. And there's no reason not to be, doing it properly and intensely. Now, at the same time, if you can be like, I have these different friends that have been in these IT groups, and the guy that's the head IT guy, he gets to run the group, Well, he's running the group because he's real sharp. But the thing is, then what happens is by being the leader of the group, everyone detracts from him. And being the leader of the group, the main part of the company says, oh yeah, you're the leader. So they almost give up their freedom, their life and everything because they're the head. So then, I've seen people with devotees that have intelligence saying, yeah, I got the intelligence to be the head of the group, but because I get no life, I decide to be a real good member of the group and not excel to the position of trying to be the leader, because then at that point, they start sucking you dry. So there has to be some intelligence here, but I mean, I see all you IT devotees. I said, wow, Krishna's given them this intelligence. And me, I'm a loser. I have hardly any brains. I have the mentality of a Sudra. I'm a laborer. I'm not so vast thinker and deep, intense, understanding analytic this and that and the computer world and all this. But I can see that even where I'm at, I just try to use whatever Krishna has given. So it's really a matter of consciousness. But at the same time, I see something that was confusing me a while ago, and I tried to unmute to ask you. And it's still persisting in reference to whatever we do, is how could Hiranyakasipu, he wasn't a human being? So as a human being, we have certain limitations. And if there's certain qualities that are given to us, that maybe is where I'm missing out on. My perspective is, I thought the more you become intensely surrendered and serving, you get these yoga siddhas. but is this Yoga Siddha actually a mechanical thing? And even if it is a mechanical thing, how can you take it to the mechanics of the position that the ants can eat the skin off your body? I normally if we come across a human being like that, they're dead. They've been dead. So how is that? Where's the energy? I mean, where's he getting that energy from if it's not from Krishna? How can he be so beyond the modes of within the strict confines of nature? He's transgressed that. Where did he get that mercy from?
So yeah, that's austerity, the board of ignorance, right?
So
yeah.
Krishna will still give you that energy then.
Oh yeah, Krishna, right?
In ignorance though.
Yeah. 15th chapter, right? 15th chapter, 15th verse. Sarvasya chaham hridaya sanivishto mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha. If we want to forget Krishna, Krishna will give us all the facilities to forget him. That's the challenge, right? We have this tiny free will, and whichever way we want to direct it, Krishna is bound to let it go in that direction because he loves us. He sees it. He constantly tries to tell us from within the heart, please don't do this. This is not good for you. But if I keep saying, no, I want it, and I go and jump into it, what can Krishna do in that? He says, okay, fine. You want to forget me? I'll give you a way to forget. When Hiranyakashipu went looking for Vishnu, he wanted to kill Vishnu, right? That was his thought. He went looking for Vishnu all over the universe. And he said, oh, Vishnu is scared. He's a coward. He's hidden somewhere. I can't find him. But where was Vishnu? Vishnu was sitting in his heart. Because Vishnu knew that he will not look for me in his own heart. So when demons become completely devoid of Krishna consciousness. Human beings become completely devoid of Krishna consciousness. They become demons. And Krishna is okay. He's saying, fine, you are going on a demoniac path. I'll have to give you a punishment after this, but still I love you. That punishment is not to show my anger on you, it's just to correct what mistakes you are doing, so that I will give you some time out and you can go and think about it. But Krishna will give it. Yeah, that's the thing, Prabhu. And you notice you just told about Hiranyakashipu. Imagine Brahma being the wisest man on this creation, and he is giving him such boons. And when the whole episode happens, when Prahlad Maharaj does his prayers and everything in the 7th canto, when he's done, then Brahma goes and says to Narasimhadev, I'm really sorry, I gave this boon to him. And what does Narasimhadev tell? Said, don't give such boons henceforth to anybody. So Lord cannot do anything. Krishna cannot do anything, right? I made you the smartest person in this creation, and you still did something so dumb that you gave a person near immortality boons. Krishna couldn't do anything in that also. He had to make changes. He said, oh, fine, you gave him all these boons. I'll have to come into a way that doesn't break any of your boons. I'm respecting what you said also. So all these things indicate that Krishna is okay with what we want to. It surely hurts him, but that doesn't mean he will not let us have it because he loves us. And Krishna does get hurt in the episode when Hiranyaksha is fighting with Varahadev. Hiranyaksha says some very sharp, cutting words, and there is a phrase in Bhagavatam. I had written it down somewhere. It says that it hurt Varahadev. So the Lord also gets hurt because he's a living being. He's a being like us. Like I get hurt, he also gets hurt. But what can he do if his children don't want to follow him? And they're just arguing, no, I want this, I want this, I want. And he says, okay, fine. This is what you get. So yeah, that's the thought, Prabhu.
Yeah, no, bringing up that Krishna gets hurt, that bothered me the other day too, because Prabhupada was saying how when someone does the austerity of starving and can almost die, with that activity, it is hurting Krishna.
Yeah,
and I thought to myself, well, how in the heck is it going to hurt you, Krishna? You're the Supreme Personality. Nothing can phase you or bring you down. But now you just made it most paramount that don't see so much without the lack of intimacy. That view of intimacy is that he's got a heart and he's got sensitivity, and he really, I know someone can die from starving, and that would be sad and disturbing. And so similarly, so Krishna has feelings like that too, like you just said.
Yeah.
He
has feelings too, yes.
So Krishna can get hurt then.
Krishna can get hurt, yes, true. And sorry, go ahead, bro.
So then you were, a minute ago you said, when you're good or bad, you just keep trying to be his devotee. You said that thing when times get down, you think of that sloka.
Yeah, 11th canto, chapter 20, verse number 27, 28.
That's really special too.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter where you are, this is applicable to you, to anyone. This is just, there has to be a sensitivity of perspective here on us trying to do the things like, you're just talking about austerities.
Yeah.
And so now I'm seeing that an austerity can be performed, but the consciousness behind that austerity is very important too.
Yes, the consciousness is very important. You're right.
That's the key, because like I was thinking, oh, Brahma, he did so much wonderful austerity and he got a positive reward because he was trying to, inquire, where am I coming from now? I got so much energy and still what's going on? And he was informed through his austerity in a positive way. And then Hiranyakasipu, he was also informed from his austerity, but it came through his own negativity. So the key to all this whole thing, and that's what I was thinking too, I didn't see it, and then I did see it later, is that this austerity of, don't get into sense gratification, or austerity of reading, the Vedas. And when you said the Vedas, I said, well, I don't care about the Vedas. I care more about Krishna consciousness. And to me, Krishna consciousness are these books that Prabhupada gave me, are more direct about the glorification of the Supreme. So it's just, but when he set it down later on, he said in that same, then he hit the nerve. Then I realized, what we're doing is he's keeping us focused with the austerity of the mind through Krishna conscious literature. That directly diverts us from any type of sense gratification. My spare time, I'm always reading, and now I'm realizing, this is an austerity that I'm performing of the mind. And it gives a good benediction, and that's what we're doing this evening. This is austerity, sitting here and studying and listening. Even though it's not an austerity because I'm having a good old time. But still, it put it in a proper perspective. If you're not doing this activity, then everything else is either a loss or an illusion or a waste of time. So, would you put it the other way? We're actually performing austerity, so I'm thankful for that gift of performing it. And as long as you have as soon as I see KC, I know I'm right on it. Krishna consciousness, So thank you, though.
Thank you. Yeah. We have to just understand, Ru, just by following the simple process shown to us by Prabhupada, we are eligible for liberation. We are eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. Purity is possible within this life because we are following the process given to us by Prabhupada. And that's more than enough. We should not worry about anything else. Krishna's mercy is going to come. When it comes, we don't know. That we should not worry about. But it is going to come. Because Krishna's grace, it comes when he wants it. He understands best when we need it and when will it utilize to best of our capacity. But it's going to come. Prabhupada used to say to his disciples that Krishna can give you everything. Big buildings, a lot of money, followers. But the problem is that you will not know how to use it. That's the challenge. So we just wait for Krishna's mercy, doing sincerely what we are doing, and we'll be successful for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so this is an important verse. So these three are very important verses. This one and actually this fifth, Anudvegam Karam Vakyam, this one's 15th verse and 16th. They're very important and they all have practical application. It's not just philosophy. We have to understand that. So we can use all these into our lives. And these can be parameters, parameters for us to understand where we stand in our bhakti. How satisfied do I feel with whatever I'm doing? How much simplicity do I have in my life? Do I try to pretend being somebody else in front of other people? Do I try to just show off that I'm better off than what I am? We can always judge ourselves by it. It's a good process. Okay. So now let's see how those three modes are in goodness, passion. The three types of austerity. This threefold austerity, performed with transcendental faith by men, not expecting material benefits, but engaged only for the sake of supreme, is called austerity in the mode of goodness. So yes, so where we are not expecting anything for ourselves, that's the mode of goodness. So as we were talking, that austerity, all these things, austerity is not just an action, but there's an intention how it's done. So now Krishna is elaborating on it. As we were saying here, demons also maintain self-control, but for later enjoyment and so forth. So when we work for Krishna, as Krishna is telling us in this word, we have a motive higher than our personal sense gratification or satisfaction, right? So that's why we always do it for Krishna. That's the process here that Krishna is explaining. We all want results. It's not like we don't want results, but we want results to please Krishna. Arjun also wanted a result. He wanted to win the battle, but he was not attached to it. Right? So non-attachment or detachment is not denying the world. It's just that, okay, are we doing it for Krishna's service? That's what defines it. Right? So, and engaged only for the sake of the Supreme. How do we do that? Because we understand that we are not the controllers. We understand that Krishna is the one who is controlling everything. So we do it for him. So, okay, Krishna, you have put me in this situation. This is what my intelligence tells me to do to the best of my capacity, and I'm doing it here. So I'm offering it to you. So that's the. When we understand that all my rewards and remunerations are coming from Krishna and Krishna alone, that's austerity in a mode of goodness. So, and when we continue to be do things in the mode of goodness, we can also transcend goodness. Right? Prabhupada said in the preface to Nectar of Instruction that when you come to the mode of goodness, then it becomes clear to you how to move forward, how to move from goodness to transcendental. So that's it. That's why we continue to work in the mode of goodness at least. Penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. So here, what is the motivation? Pride. And Krishna is telling us it is flickering and it will not last long. Right? So sometimes we do austerities to get praise. Right? Sometimes I do fasting and I'll say, oh, now I become superior to others who are not fasting. No, like I fast on Janmashtami, and there are so many people who are not fasting. Oh my God, look down. I start looking down on them. No, that's not the way. Then my austerity of fasting is becoming a mode of passion. So sometimes there is, I think Prabhupada talks about this. Yeah, talking about washing feet, right? That sometimes so people in the mode of passion arrange to be worshipped by subordinates and let them wash their feet and offer riches. So Prabhupada is saying that's in a mode of ignorance. Sorry, passion. Right? We don't do that. It's just an external show of austerity. It has no purity to it. It's hypocrisy. It provides some very temporary results, might be. You might get followers for some time, but then eventually the lasting results will be you'll fall down and eventually. So if there is no inner growth, then there's no elevation of consciousness. Right? To clarify, washing feet is humbling for the disciples. A guru is already humble, but by washing feet, we can become purified. So sometimes you will see even in ISKCON, there is some process where we wash feet of our spiritual masters. But that's not what Prabhupada is talking about here. This is when people in a mode of passion and their looking for something in return. The guru is looking for something in return, either riches or something. Then it becomes in a mode of passion. Otherwise, even in Shastras, it's said that when you wash the feet of a devotee, and when we take those remnants, you can sprinkle it on your head or something. That is okay. That is in bhakti, that's okay. Okay. Then 19th. Penance performed out of foolishness with self-torture or to destroy or injure others is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Right? Here the intention is to hurt others. It makes a seemingly enlightened activity in the mode of ignorance. Right? So that's like Hiranyakashipu we were talking about. So instead of taking responsibility for the wrongs that I have committed, I try to do austerity to destroy the perceived offender. That was the mindset of Hiranyakashipu. We thought Vishnu had killed his brother. He didn't see what nonsense his brother was doing. But he said, no, that's wrong. And he wanted to destroy or kill Vishnu. So austerity to trying to bring down others is in the mode of ignorance. And the classic example is, who's that? Virkasura? Virkasura. Virkasura was, I hope I'm getting the name right, he was offering his own skin.
Bakrasur, right, Prabhu?
Bakrasur? Was
Yes.
Bakrasur? Okay. Virkasur, I missed it. But yeah, so he was offering his own skin in as an offering to God, to Lord Shiva, to please Lord Shiva. But then when Lord Shiva appeared, what boon did he ask? On whoever's head I put my hand, that person will die. He will burn to ashes. And what he was doing? He wanted to burn Lord Shiva to ashes. So the word here being used is pida. Pida kriyate tapa. So it's torture. So that was one example. Bakrasur.
Bhasmasura, I guess, Prabhuji.
Bhasmasur? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, I don't remember the name, but yeah, he was cutting off his skin and offering it to Lord Shiva. Yeah. So we have to give up this mentality where we use power not to build ourselves, but to break somebody down. So competition is a part of this world, but that doesn't mean we have to break down others. You could always have a healthy competition. We don't have to make it destructive. When we focus on improving ourselves, then it becomes constructive criticism. Competition, constructive competition. So yes. So that is the, but here it's opposite. It's all about destroying others. And when we read the 16th chapter, it was extensively about demons. There also Krishna says, what do demoniac think? That I'll kill everybody, all my enemies are dead, and so forth. So yeah. Okay, so this is austerity. 3 types of austerities and the modes of different austerity. Then we have charity. So charity begins. So now charity is again the 3 modes. Charity given out of duty, without expectation of return, at the proper time and place, and to a worthy person, is considered to be in the mode of goodness. Right? So charity is more than an activity. We have talked about it in the past. It's a mentality. Right? It's an inner disposition, a feeling of my heart. Right? So those who consider charity to be merely an activity, they focus not on the inner growth, but just as a show. So that's why it's that when you just do it out of duty, right? So irrespective of whatever amount we give, we're just doing regularly, we're doing charity. It helps us take steady steps towards selflessness. When we cultivate this mindset of giving in service of Krishna. So that's a charity in the mode of goodness. Right? So it's a quality, actually. It's not just a activity, it's also a quality. Yeah, okay. So that's in a mode of goodness. Then in a mode of passion. Charity performed with the expectation of some return, or with a desire for fruitive results, or in a grudging mood, is said to be charity in the mode of passion. It's a grudging mood. Right? So it's been given for some return. Right? It's been giving, and then it's been given grudgingly, resentfully. Oh, I don't want to give charity, but there is social pressure on me, or something similar, and I have to give charity. Right? So actions are important, but motivations are more important. Focus in this case is what I will get in return. I'm always calculating in my mind. Right? So sometimes we give in temples, we say, oh yeah, Krishna will give me 10 times more. Right? And when we don't have that faith that we will get something in return, then it becomes grudging. It doesn't allow us to move forward. Reciprocation is natural, to expect reciprocation. But then we have to understand the context of reciprocation. Like I was just mentioning, when Krishna gives it, that's up to Krishna. I should not make it to a business mentality, maximizing profit or something of that kind. No. So that then my consciousness grows. So in the beginning, for example, we can't give our heart to Krishna, but at least we can start with something. We can start with what's in my heart. Money, right? We all are thinking about money. So I start giving money to Krishna, and then slowly and steadily my heart purifies. So that's it. Yeah, okay. And then charity in the mode of ignorance. Charity performed at an impure place, at an impure time, to unworthy persons, or without proper attention and respect, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Okay. Now charity in the mode of ignorance. Charity is thought to be a benevolent activity, right? You always, whenever the word charity comes, we think, oh, how benevolent that person is. But Bhagavad Gita is warning here us that it can also be in the mode of ignorance, right? Right. So, for example, let's say somebody is driving his car drunk, okay, and he sees his friend somewhere standing on a red light or something, and he gives a bottle of alcohol to his friend, right? They both want to de-stress their mind. So one may think that he's doing a favor to the other person. No, but that's mode of ignorance. So it's not sometimes it's not just a pursuit of pleasure. Sometimes people also want to escape from something, right? So that's also for example, many companies that make cigarettes, they open hospitals. For like you're trying to escape away from all the sins that you're doing by creating so many like cigarettes where people are dying and so much cancer and so forth, right? So sometimes if you go to India, there in some villages, people offer alcohol and drugs to kids. They see, oh, it's a charity. It's not a charity, even if it's even given for free. The kids lose their sense of right and wrong with that. It's very self-centered. So, and also to the right person, Krishna is saying. Good intentions are not good enough also, right? You sometimes when you're doing good intention, still that could be a negative effect. Prabhupada always used to give that example of one of his neighbors, where one child was very sick, and the parents, though there were two sons, so one of the sons was very sick, and the parents told the other son that don't give him anything to eat until we come back. And the son who was sick started begging his brother, oh, please give me some paratha, something fried. I'm very hungry. And the younger brother, out of charity, oh, I'm doing so much good. Oh, my intentions are good. He gives it to his brother. His brother goes even further sick. So it's intentions might be good, but we have to understand whom we are giving it to. So that's the mindset. So next, so we'll pause here. Next, from 23rd verse onwards, we will discuss how all things can be made transcendental. Right? There's so much to think about. Oh, is this in mode of goodness? Is this in ignorance? What to do? What to do? So Krishna is going to give us a very good method by which we can make everything transcendental. The next 23 to 27 will be about transcendental. 28, I think 28 verses.